Hello, friends. Welcome back to Heartscapes, where we're learning the system of Reiki to be rooted, to be spacious, to be connected, and to remember ourselves. My name's Michaela. Welcome back to the studio. We are on day 11 of our 21-day journey through the mystic practices of Sanmitsu, body, breath, and mind. This week, we are working with practices that lead with the breath while always integrating the body and the mind together into a unified whole, with the purpose of bringing our full capacity, the full provisions of our human form in all of its manifestations online, available to us as we move through our lives. The other purpose, truly the higher purpose of these practices, as we discussed in our last session, is to help train our mind to focus on what matters most, this present moment, the sensations of our body, the interactions that we're having with others in this present moment, so that we can stay in a space of presence and not fly to the future, fly to the past, and all of the attachments and suffering that come to us when we dwell in other places. So this is truly a training of the mind using the capacities of the body and the breath and the voice. So we're working through practices now, as I said, that lead with the breath, with the voice, integrating these other two aspects of ourselves. And we're going to do a practice today that has really a role for each of these three parts of ourselves. It's one that feels a little bit more balanced between these three aspects of body, breath, and mind. In other words, each of these parts of ourselves has a very specific job to do inside of this practice. And there can be a lot of value to practices that do that, that balance out the three aspects of the practice, because it gives us the opportunity to choose which one will be most beneficial for us to focus more of our attention on a given day. There's times when the gesture of the body is what we need to keep our attention focused in this moment. Sometimes the sensation of our voice or our breath is the best thing for us to focus on. And sometimes it's the visualizations in our mind that can be most helpful. And so we're going to give a job to all three of those in today's practice and see what happens from there. So this is going to involve a mantra, a very simple mantra, a single syllable, the syllable of ah. And ah is that first seed syllable, that first sound. It's the first sound that comes through with just about any word that we're going to say. And in the traditions that we're working inside of is the seed syllable for all other sounds and all of the rest of creation. So it's a powerful mantra, a very simple one, and we're going to work with it through a couple of different practices in this series. The visualization of our mind is going to involve that spark of light in our belly. We've worked with this spark of light in other practices. It's the spark of life that is our true self, the spark of our true nature, dwelling in the perfect, nourishing darkness of our center, darkness and light coming together in a beautiful totality. And by visualizing that spark of light right there at the center of our belly, the center of gravity, the center of our energy sphere, that grounded and rooted place of our body, we develop that sensation of being nourished and resourced by the earth, by our physical body, and to feel this enough sense of safety and stability that we can begin to peel back the layers of distraction and difficulty and pain and limitations that we may have piled on, covering over that true and whole self. I could talk a lot more about those concepts, and I have in other videos. It's a deep and rich subject. In fact, it's truly part of the foundational work that we do inside of the system of Reiki from its origins that we build on over time. So there's much more that could be said about that, but I think we'll just leave it there for now, because what we're going to do is visualize that spark of light at our belly, or feel it, a sensation of it in our body, or even just the idea of it. And then as we work with this mantra, which we will release on our exhale, We're going to imagine that spark of light moving up from our belly, up the center of our body, the central channel of the body, to our mouth. And as we're releasing that mantra, we're going to imagine that spark of light traveling from ourself out into the distance. So a little bit of our imagination, imagining out into the distance. Again, not all of us visualize images in our head. And that's perfectly fine if your way of being is more auditory or more kinesthetic, because we're going to have these two other elements of this practice to rely on. But even if you're not able to visualize that spark moving through the body and out into the distance, you can have a sense of it in your body, or you can have an idea of it in your mind and the mantra. Then when we take our next inhale, that spark will come back to us, moving down, back down to the belly. And as we release the next exhale, the next mantra, moving back up the center of the body, out of our mouth and out into the distance. So you can see that pattern of breath moving this spark from place to place in this pattern. Many of the practices within the system of Reiki, when we start moving towards the 5 elements that are the system of Reiki itself, this practice that we're doing today is coming from some of the esoteric roots of Reiki, but not necessarily from the system of Reiki itself. But many of the practices there involve using the focus of our mind to shift our energy around to work with us in particular ways. We do that when we're doing hands-on healing practice, the Tenohiro practice, which we worked with a bit in our first week. We're concentrating our focus on the hands in that case. And so moving energy with where we place our attention is fundamental to this practice. And so this practice we're doing today helps us to build that capacity. So finally, as we are moving this spark of light with our breath, breathing it into our belly, breathing it out into the distance while releasing this mantra, we're also going to incorporate a gesture of the body. And if you enjoy this practice and you choose to take it into your life in any way, you can, do this practice with or without the gesture. You can do it with or without the mantra. You could use the gesture and the visualization together without the mantra, or you could use the mantra and not the gesture. Really, you can kind of bring in different elements, but we're going to use all 3 of them in this practice today. And in this way, we're kind of moving ourselves towards the next week, where we will be working with practices that lead with the mind. So the gesture that we'll be using is basically to trace that trajectory of that image in our mind. So beginning with our hands at our hara, the low belly, that home of the spark of light. And as we exhale, moving the hands up the center channel and then gesturing out into the distance. And then as we inhale, bringing it back down to the belly. So as we exhale, following that light. And then as we inhale, bringing it back to the belly. So as we work with this visualization, it could be helpful to imagine that spark of light as more of a golden ball or orb. You can really use any imagery that works for you. So it could be a spark, a shining spark of light. It could be a luminous, clear sphere. It could be a golden ball. It could be something else that comes to your imagination, whatever works for you. All right, so let's do a few rounds of this practice. So as always, we're going to settle our body into a position that is supportive for practice. And in this case, that means being well supported by the structures below you, having your feet under you, firmly planted on the ground, making a nice, wide, stable foundation out of your body, out of which the center of your body, your spine, can rise in an upright and relaxed way, so that you feel well supported, using pillows or other supports if you need to, so that you're not holding your body tense. You're able to let your belly relax, your shoulders relax, taking a few breaths to bring in that sense of relaxation if you need to. And as I've said before in other practices, if you find yourself breathing in a shallow way, the breath staying high in the chest rather than moving low into the belly, if you're finding it's a struggle to let your belly expand with the breath, and the breath is really wanting to stay high in the chest, and you're finding your movement coming from your chest, and if that feels like a struggle, then working with the breath truly is your practice for that day. There are strategies for helping your body ease into moving the breath lower in the body. And if you're interested in any of those, please reach out. But we want to create this space where the breath can move freely into our bellies, taking a couple of breaths to arrive there. And beginning to sense or imagine that in the center of your low belly, in the energy center known as the hara, 2 inches below your belly button, deep into the center of the body, you find a spark of light. And allowing this spark to show up to you however it does today, in whatever form makes it easy to focus upon. Taking a couple of breaths, resting your attention on your breath so that you can draw your mind in and down into your belly. Well, being welcomed home here and connecting with this spark of light. And then when you feel that connection, which can be as simple as you find that you're able to rest your attention in the center of your body, drawing your focus back from all the distractions of the day. We'll begin to work with this practice, and you can join me whenever you feel ready. And we're going to do about 10 repetitions. So again, we're going to breathe into our belly, envisioning this spark of light in whatever form works for you. And then as we exhale and intone the mantra of ah, we're going to imagine that spark moving up the center channel of our body, out the mouth, into the far distance, following that movement with the gesture of our hands. And on our next inhale, bringing that back, bringing that spark back in and down to our belly. Two more. Ah. Bringing your hands to rest at your hara and settling here. Continuing to feel the sensation of this seed syllable emanating from your body, vibrating from you. I invite you to feel the way in which your voice, the vibration and intonation of your voice, is a gift to the world. That may feel like a big statement. If we think about the ways in which our voice touches so many other people and spaces that we're within, the ways in which you have been inspired and influenced by the voices of others, not always necessarily even the words that they say, but the very sound of their speaking or their singing. I invite you to consider your voice as a gift to the world. And the volume of your voice does not matter. You could do this practice very, very quietly. Just a gentle sound, barely a whisper. A teacher of mine often says that any pitch of your voice is welcome, is perfect, because it is who you are, it's what you are. An embodiment of your energy, your life force. And so, with this framework in mind, the idea that your voice is a gift to the world, no matter the volume or the tone. Let's do 3 more repetitions. And this time, I'm going to try a soft tone. I invite you to use what feels right for you. Breathing in. Coming again to rest with your hands at your belly. And on your next breath, bringing your hands together in gasso at your heart, a gesture of completion and of gratitude for the gift of your voice, your presence in this world, your body's ability to perceive and to hold and to move through, to contain all of it. Friends, thank you for being in practice with me today and all of the days that you choose to step into this space. I'm grateful for your presence. I'm grateful for your voice, which sometimes comes to me through messages in the chat or conversations we get to have offline, or even just the thoughts that come to mind as you spend time with me here. We will be continuing this journey as we move through a couple more practices of the voice, and then spend some time leading with practices of the mind in our final week. And so as you move from this day, I really invite you to notice the ways in which your voice encounters the world today, in the words that you say, in the intonations that come, the sounds that come from you, the thoughts that you have that you feel like you want to give some form to. Just notice how it feels to be aware of your breath and of your voice as a gift to the world. And as you do, may you feel deeply provisioned for that journey. Thanks so much for being with me. Until next time, I love you. Goodbye.